So we discussed this a little bit yesterday, that things appear like, they're in a little bit of a rough spot. There was a statement that was released from Trey Hendrickson to the Cincinnati Bengals, or to Adam Schefter, in regards to his conversations with the Cincinnati Bengals this offseason. And then yesterday, Trey Hendrickson's there. Reporters caught up with Trey Hendrickson at the Bengals facility, and it went a little something like this.
A little bit transpired between me and Zach. We've tried to keep it as least amount personal as possible, but at some point in this process, it becomes personal. Being sent 30 days before mandatory camp, or however many days it is, that if I don't show up, I will be fined, alludes to the fact that something won't get done in that time frame. With the lack of communication post-draft, made it evidently clear from my party that I had to inform that this might not work out. I'm a Floridian, so there's unprovoked shark attacks and there's provoked shark attacks. The comments that are being made, whatever happened at the combine, whatever happened at the owners' meetings, and the text I got yesterday, this is not something where I'm just twiddling my thumbs thinking, oh, how can I get the next one up? That's what makes this place so special, is that they watch me every day. They see how hard I work. There's no other organization knows me better than this one. They see how I carry myself as a human being, and they know me. So it stinks when the value somewhere else, because I was fortunate enough to have that trade request granted, it gave me the fortunate circumstance to see my value elsewhere, and I'm hoping it doesn't come to that. Former players have walked in these shoes, and what it foreshadows is not something that I'm excited about to tell my wife and family, like, hey, I'm getting good vibes, or should be happy. Those comments stink.
So that's Trey Hendrickson letting it fly yesterday at the Bengals offseason workout.
I'll put it this way. He's pretty darn articulate for explaining the situation and his frustrations and why they're at where they're at, which is more than the Bengals can say. And I don't know if they've been openly, outwardly spoken about this subject. So he's done his part. For 2 years now, he's been one of the best, if not one of the most productive sack artists in the game. And it came down to what the Cincinnati Bengals prioritized. They prioritized Joe Burrow in the offense. They get the receivers signed. And we knew that there would probably be an odd man out. So in this case, it looks like it may be Trey Hendrickson. It sounds like with everything he's saying, he would like to stay. There's still a bridge there that they can cross. I don't know if the Vikings came by and burned it yet, but it feels like there's still a chance they can still rectify the contract situation. I mean, Myles Garrett wanted to get traded. He get a new deal. Now he's like, oh, I'm good. All right. Thanks, guys. So I'm sure it can be the same with Trey Hendrickson. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he wanted out of there.
Let's get it done in Cleveland.
Yeah. 2 months later, I was like, all right, well, you don't think so? He's out? If they've been able to, and here's the thing, is that if they've been able to shop a trade, it's complicated because he's going into the last year of his deal. Whatever team trades for him knows he wants a new deal. So he's not just having an issue probably, or his agent is having an issue with the Bengals. He's probably having an issue too with whatever team would propose a trade. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. No one's going to trade for him without having a contract in hand when he gets there, because he doesn't want to play under this contract.
I think that's what makes it complicated. That, and he's 30, which, it's weird because, again, I always say with edge rushers, and he plays against the run too. Like, he's not just a guy that gets to the quarterback. He actually is an edge setter as well. Like, he's a complete ball player. He just is really good at making it look easy getting to the quarterback. I mean, he does an excellent job of it. I don't think 30 is so old where you don't think you can get at least 3 to 4 years out of him that are still very productive in what it is that he specializes in, what he does. So I wouldn't be afraid to pay him. I really wouldn't, because his style of play fits him having the ability to sustain it for at least the length of a contract. So if I gave him a 5-6 year contract, I'm really only looking for production in the first 3 of it. Thus, probably why we're here now and in the situation that he's in, where he's been productive throughout the better part of his contract. Now he's at the end of it. Most franchises and players have the understanding that if you're playing at a high level, you're probably coming back and you're renegotiating before the contract runs out. Like, that's kind of a widely understood deal. But I will get back to the realities that exist with this as well. And it's a harsh reality that goes along with the idea of it being a little bit complex, that he wants a deal, and that could be the reason why they're not able to move him, is that he is under contract. So they can fine you. They can manage you to the letter of the law of the contract that you signed. So that's the reality here. Like, we could say it's harsh. We could say it's unfair. We could say he's outperformed his contract. Look at what happened in Cleveland with Myles Garrett. But the reality of it is that if Cincinnati felt as though we gave our money to the most important positions that we feel that needed to be signed this offseason, and we're not comfortable doing another major deal that way, and we'll revisit during the year or not at all, he can take that personal. But in reality, what else are you going to do? You got 2 options. You play or you sit out. That's his 2 options. And so to me, while he did articulate well what he's feeling, and he clearly, I think he feels like he's the shark that's getting agitated. I don't think he feels as though it would be a friendly fire shark attack on his behalf. I think he feels like the things that are being said and done are agitating factors where he's fighting not to make it personal. But I would urge him, even at 30 years old, I would urge him to not take it personal and to keep it strictly business. And if strictly business means that they're not going to redo your contract, then you either decide that you're not going to show up until they do a contract, and you got to feel like what you bring to the table as a player, 1, you can handle the fines, 2, you're confident enough that you can sit out and they're going to do the deal and you can come back and everything is going to be okay, or you got to be prepared to sit. I don't feel like there's no other recourse to be taken here. And that's the reality of being under contract.
He clearly does not want to be anywhere else. He wants to be there. He wants to be in Cincinnati. And when he makes the comment that, when they're sending me a text or letting me know 30 days ahead of time, by the way, if you don't show up, you're going to get fined. His frustration, I took it was, I was expecting we were going to have some dialogue about a new contract. Instead, the only dialogue I've gotten from you is, oh, by the way, show up at this point or else you're going to get fined. And
the point, the message is, regardless of what we do, because they may want to talk to him in person,
but they haven't.
They may want to have that interaction once he gets there in camp.
His point is they're not even having the conversation at all, and I can understand why he'd be pissed off. Like, I'm waiting to hear that. I'm waiting to hear a discussion about something else, and you're talking about a fine system. I always show up. He was there yesterday.
He's saying that they said to be there, so that immediately says we're honoring the contract. What we do from wherever we do it from, that's at our discretion. But we're letting you know you are under contract, and as a contracted employee of this organization, we expect you to be here, or you will get fined. Now, I don't know that means they're going to fine them, but I think they're going to test the waters now before you get to training camp. You test the waters now to see how far is Trey really willing to take it.
Let's all understand how this actually works. No one's getting fined yet, boys. So that doesn't happen until anything's mandatory. There's nothing until the mandatory OTA or mini camp, and then training camp. So we're really looking into June before there would be any sort of mandatory fines over that 3-day period. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I do understand what Jonas is saying. And I think that's where you could say, well, this is business. It shouldn't be emotional. But come on. Like when you're doing what he's done the past couple of years, which is, 17 and a half sacks the last 2 years?
Yeah.
Whatever it's been, 17 sacks. I mean, he's outplayed his contract. He's scheduled to make $15.8 million this year. You've got other dudes making 40 that haven't had as much production as he's had. So I'm sure the team, because this is how this works too. We've been there. You've heard it. You might have been told it. I've heard it. Hey, man, you do this. You get paid. All this, you hear coaches say that stuff. You hear all that garbage. He keeps putting in the time, doing everything he was asked to do. And he's outplayed this contract in a huge way. You can even make the case the last, couple years of it. So it never really should have come to this because he's far exceeded their expectations based on what he was paid coming into this deal and what he's making, off of this, at least for, this upcoming year. So I look at it and just go, I understand his frustration. I think he's using a negotiation tactic to try to put more public pressure on the Bengals because they are known as a cheap organization. And because of that, I think it puts more pressure on them to say, all right, let's try to get this done. As a player, you really don't have any other levers to pull. You can be present, right, which creates a distraction for everyone else because they don't just ask then the coaching staff and the front office. They ask other players too. And so it'll come to a point where it becomes such a distraction. And by the way, not in a bad way. He's not out there like doing things and wilding out and doing whatever else. I mean, he's just, sincerely stating where he's at, which there's nothing wrong with that. So I think this is just a tactic more than anything else to put pressure on the team, a team that has historically drugged its feet on wanting to pay players. And in particular, they've paid guys this year, but he's going to end up being the odd man out. And you can make the case he's been more productive than T. Higgins. I don't know that you could say he's been more productive than Jamar Chase. He's been one of the best receivers in the NFL, but you could say he's been equally as productive for his position. And yet he's going to be the guy that doesn't get paid.
And what's the part where he points out, listen, other players have walked in these shoes and it doesn't give me a lot of confidence is what we were laying out yesterday. Like, man, they've had a lot of these happen in Cincinnati. And my whole thing on it is if you're a team and you sign a player to a deal and they signed him back in 2021 to this 4-year deal, like you're hoping that he lives up to the contract. And if he lives up to the contract, awesome. If he exceeds what he's been paid or what the contract was, I would assume you would want to reward him further for that. Not only has he done what they've thought he was going to do, he's been better. Like his first 4 years in New Orleans weren't close to this. He's been better, and he's gotten better every single year, and he's been more productive every single year he's been there. And yet there's just no momentum that's been gained on a deal. Like nothing has come, and that's why he's frustrated.
And I get where you guys are coming from, and they're very valid points. But I ultimately look at it like this. He did make it clear, I guess, in his interview as well, that he will not play under this current contract. Like he's saying, I'm not playing.
Well, you have to say that.
If that's a game of chicken, then that's a game of chicken.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But so if they call out, if they decide to take him up on the game of chicken, if he does indeed prepare himself to sit out, what is the ultimate end of that? Like, okay, his contract runs out, which I believe if you sit out, your contract doesn't like go away, right? Like you get that. Do they get that year back? I'm not.
It's not considered a vested season, so the contract would just toll to the following year. In this case,
right.
You'd assume that they trade him or they release him. I mean, there's really not much of a point if the guy's unhappy and not going to play for you. You might as well get what you can for him. Like he's not getting any younger. There's teams that have needs off the edge. There's someone who'd give up future draft compensation for him and willing to sign him to a contract that does appease him. So,
yeah,
look, he either plays for the Bengals this year, they figure this out, or he'll get traded. There's no way he'll end up.
But again, if you take the complications of what you're saying in terms of getting a contract. He was going to want a contract done wherever it is he goes.
Yeah.
What does that team want to do that he's going to go to? And there may
Give
be
him 2 years
again,
of guarantees.
It could be.
I mean,
it could be New England. New England
he'll
still
make-
has
he'll
made
make-
it a thing.
I would guess he'll make somewhere in the ballpark of $70 million guaranteed. He'll probably average about $35 million per year, $30 million, somewhere in that ballpark per year in his contract, which is fair. Like he'd be doubling what he's scheduled to make now, and he's easily
I don't think
justified that.
Cincinnati's not going to do that. I just don't think
Well,
Cincinnati.
I don't know if they have the cash to be able to do it. So
I don't think they're going to do it.